Why did you leave your last job? You know at some point they're going to ask you the question. So what is the best answer to the why did you leave your last job interview question? When it was toxic, when you got laid off, or if you were fired? Hello, my friend, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Jennifer, and I am your new career bestie. If you haven't already, consider subscribing if you want career advice to help you elevate and accelerate your career in the regular, deal with a toxic workplace, all that stuff. Also, I post daily on LinkedIn, and I try to show up as much as possible on Instagram as well, where I post more videos and swipeys. So if you want a daily hit of career awesomeness, go and hang with me over there. In this video, I am going to dive into it with you. What are you supposed to say when they ask you the reason for leaving your last job? My boss was a toxic, self-obsessed narcissist. Yeah, that's not what you're supposed to say. If you're ready to find out what you should be saying, tap that like button and let's just jump straight into it. Let's start off with the most important part when you're answering that question of why did you leave your last job? You're going to give the real answer, even if it's not pretty. But the sparkly PR version that clearly explains why it's really no problem at all. Let's go through each of these so it, makes sense. First, let's talk about the actual reason. And I know some people want to lie about it, and I know some people do actually lie about their reason for leaving their last job. But you are putting that next opportunity at risk if you are not truthful about your reason for leaving your last job. Assume that the company that you are interviewing with is going to do their due diligence, because the vast majority of companies do. And that is going to include confirming your employment. Part of that is going to be asking for the reason for separation. Yeah, so we want to know, why did you guys break up? Like that, but professional. And what I'm getting at here is they're gonna find out why you left. So they need to hear it from you, and you need to be the one who sets the narrative. That said, you do not need to respond with something like this. I got canned because I was late all the time. Can you even believe that they wanted me to arrive before 11 a.m. every single day? This is where your PR spin comes into play. Like putting cheese sauce onto broccoli, this is going to make your reason for leaving your last job much more palatable. And not only that, this is going to make you come across as much more positive and even more introspective in your answer. Those are good things when you're trying to get hired. And stay tuned because I'm going to give you examples that you can actually work from. But one more thing before we get to that. In particular, when you were terminated with cause, the reason why is going to be that you were let go. And when that's the case, integrating an explainer of why it's a non-issue going forward is crucial. Now let's jump into the examples so that you can craft your own response to this common interview question. And actually, I'm curious about which one applies to you, and if you have an answer that you're giving that you want some feedback in, pop it in the comments down below. First, let's look at how to answer the reason for leaving interview question when you left a toxic job. So many of you guys ask me in the comments about how to explain this to the next employer, or who will hopefully be your next employer. And I'm gonna give you a huge rule to live and die by in an interview situation, especially when you've left a toxic job. Well, anytime that you leave a job, really. You never want to speak poorly about a former employer or your current employer in a job interview, even if they really deserve it. Why is that, you ask? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First, it's gonna make them nervous. When you're speaking poorly or not kindly about a former employer or the company that you're leaving, what the recruiter and the hiring manager is really going to hear is that you're going to speak the same about them when you inevitably, at some point in your career, decide to move on from that company. And companies care about their reputation. I mean, that's why toxic companies actually pay their employees to write fake positive Glassdoor reviews. But that's a story for another day. Another reason is that even if your critique is completely fair, it is going to make you come across as maybe being a complainer at work or being a negative person at work. And that's not who you are. It's definitely not who you're going to be going into your next job, where it's not going to be a toxic job. But that perception can hurt you when they're making a hiring decision nonetheless. And also, and I think this is the most important reason behind this, aside from all the perception management stuff, is remember that most people aren't really going to understand the gravity of a toxic work environment. The discourse about toxic workplaces out in the world is pretty superficial, which has led to the actual circumstance being misunderstood by many people. If you can't count on your friends, family, or even therapists to understand the harm caused in a toxic work environment, can you count on your potential future manager or the recruiter understanding it? I wouldn't. Instead of pointing at a negative work environment or even a toxic work environment when you're answering what your reason for leaving that job is, instead of pointing to a negative work environment or a toxic work environment as your reason for leaving, say something along the lines of, the work culture wasn't fully aligned, or the leadership principles weren't a strong match for my own. Be ready with that PR example now, because this is going to lead them to their next question. They want to understand why it wasn't a fit so they can tell if they are a fit. What stands out to me most was the culture of competition among team members. By nature, I'm much more of a collaborator. Or leadership exercised a high level of oversight on daily tasks. I tend to perform much better when I'm given autonomy by leaders. You can see how those answers would hit a lot differently than saying, I just wanted to leave my toxic job. Ideally, you can even integrate your UAQ, your unique awesomeness quotient, into this answer as a lovely way to flex it. And if you don't know your UAQ yet, you need to get the UAQ starter kit. I'll leave the link in the description so you can get yours. Next, how do you explain your reason for leaving when you were laid off? When you're watching this video, as it comes out in mid-2001, 2021, that is the year, I don't even know what year it is, you guys. This is a time warp right now. Anyways, know that right now and in this time period that we're in, many employers are going to assume that any employment gaps or layoffs are as a result of the whole world situation going on right now. Obviously, workplaces and companies experienced a high level of disruption, and there was a lot of industries that were greatly impacted. And if the reason why your company had to cut back and the reason why you were laid off is because of the whole pandemic thing that we've been dealing with, you can simply say that, and typically there's not going to be any questions beyond that. Especially in circumstances like this, hiring managers and recruiters know that even the most talented people are getting hit with layoffs. It may even be something that they experienced personally, or someone that they loved was impacted by the whole situation. So not only is there a high level of likelihood that they'll understand what happened, they may even recognize this time period as being the exceptional opportunity that it is to hire great talent that would not otherwise be on the market looking for a job. Often when you experience a layoff at work and you have to explain your reason for leaving, it's going to fall into kind of categorical buckets. Like there was a reduction in workforce, a location was closing, they were consolidating teams, there was a merger and acquisition and they were just getting rid of the duplication, etc. In situations such as that, you can say something along the lines of, I loved working for Acme, however, when they restructured the business, my team was one of the ones that were impacted by the reduction in workforce. However, some layoffs are kind of with cause and there's not dozens or hundreds or thousands of people being impacted at the same time. And that actually brings us into how to answer your reason for leaving when it's the question that really makes us cringe. When you were the only person laid off or when you were fired from your job. Listen, if this is the one that you need to answer for, know that it's very challenging because it's very triggering. No one likes to be fired. It does not feel good, at least in most cases. Even if you were fired from a toxic job that you absolutely hated and are relieved to escape from, there is still that feeling that you were just broken up with by someone that you didn't even like in the first place. You can't break up with me. I was gonna break up with you. So first, do as much as you can to reconcile those feelings that being laid off or being fired really stirred up. Process your feelings, let go of the bitterness or whatever is coming up for you, and focus on regaining and rebuilding your confidence after job loss. Now, in some cases, you might not know the reason why this happened to you, especially if you're living in an at-will state and no reason is being provided. If the reason was not clear to you, you can respond with something along the lines of, the company made the decision and they didn't give me a reason why. However, my manager said that they are happy to give me a reference. However, if there was a reason, you were late, you had a bad attitude, or worse, in your answer to your reason for leaving your last job question, you need to explain what you learned and why it's a non-issue going forward. This is a tough one. I was late on more than one occasion, and after I was given warning, I ended up being let go because it was having a big impact on my team. It was a tough lesson for me to learn, but it was really a great opportunity for me because it's forced me to look at my time, how I structure my day, and build better habits when it comes to punctuality. That's why I was here 5 minutes early for the interview today, and that's my goal going forward. Even better, if the reason for losing your job is going to be a non-issue at the new company, such as you were let go for being late, but they have flex time and there is no hard start time, you can just highlight that point. Now, there's one thing that I really want to highlight. No matter what your reason for leaving your last job was, but particularly when it is one of the more delicate situations like being terminated with cause, the thing that is most crucial in giving your reason and giving your answer to why you left your last job isn't in the specific words that you're saying. The thing that is going to be most important for you when you're giving this answer and every other answer in the job interview is confidence. Confidence sells. So obviously you want to walk into the interview confident AF and feeling like you can answer any question that they ask you. So what you really need at this point now is some instant confidence boosters. I want you to go and check out this video right now that outlines my 7 top instant confidence hacks. It's gonna make a huge difference in your interview. But before you go, if this helped you answering that common interview question, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel and it makes you my favorite career bestie. As always, thank you so much for watching, my friend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.